Bluey. It's an amazing show. It's Australian. I, like many a millennial and Gen Z, have fallen in love with this show. Each episode is about 7 minutes, so it's like really low investment, and it's just really good TV. It feels like a cartoon that is not just made for children. It's more like just a cartoon that is made for everyone in mind. It's on Disney Plus if you have it. I highly recommend just watching a couple random episodes. It's a good show. So at some point a few months ago, I drew Joe and I as Bluey characters. He is a Jack Russell Terrier and I am a Cocker Spaniel. I might redraw these because there are a couple things now that I've like gotten better at replicating the style that I feel like I could push. And then after I drew that, a friend had reached out to me and asked me if I could draw her dogs as Bluey characters. She even provided me like with a cute little sketch, so I just kind of like cleaned it up and then made the shapes closer to what they are based on the source material. So then I figured, why not draw you guys as Bluey characters? It was a good way for me to practice replicating this style while also kind of like giving back to you guys. So I posted on Twitter asking people if they wanted me to draw them in the style of Bluey. I got a bunch of submissions and I picked 6, and I'm gonna go ahead and go through the ones that I drew. So first of all, we have Ari, I could be saying that wrong, Halloween. They mentioned being a Saluki, which is like a long, slender sight hound that is also very long-haired, kind of like a Cocker Spaniel. They're very similar to an Afghan hound, except they have slightly shorter fur. I actually messed up on this one because I forgot to turn on the background, so I did not capture a lot of my base sketching for this one. But in terms of reference images, I decided to start working with Indy and Indy's mom because they're the ones with like the most source material. They are technically Afghan hounds, but they look very similar. I'm pretty sure that the only Selkie breed dogs that show up in Bluey are Cherry, who is the girlfriend of a tradie, and a yoga instructor who is briefly seen on a TV. Not great for reference images, but also helpful. Looking back on it, I probably could have made this character a bit more thin, so the way that I drew this is like a bit more furry. I decided to keep the straight across bangs. I feel like that's something that like a dog could have. It doesn't break away from the style of this show too much. And then I also tried to keep the like warm red-brown color because I felt like it fit. Again, I could have made it probably a bit more saturated because sometimes in this show, some of the dogs are like bright colors. Another thing that I try to do with these is that I try to give them a defining thing when possible, and so for this I decided to keep the person's necklace. So the show Bluey actually has colored line art, so that's always like the last stage in these. So thank you, Halloween, for donating your face as a reference. I will be posting these on Twitter if you want to get like the full image. Otherwise you can screenshot it here. Next we have Punk Panda. Punk Panda wanted to be fused with their dog, who is mostly Chow but is suspected to also be Retriever. So there is a very prominent Chow Chow character, and that is Judo. Judo and Judo's mom are both Chow Chows, which gives a very good reference base to start with. It was very helpful being able to use the like actual Bluey characters just to get the basic proportions correct and also kind of like form the underlying body sections. I had so much fun coloring this because of the bright oranges and browns. Bright orange makes such a good highlight color for this dog. If I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't sure if the orange eyebrow and like makeup was part of like a cosplay or if that's just like a normal style thing. I could just be ignorant, but I went ahead and I made one of the eyebrows orange because I thought it looked really cool. This one was like one of the easiest ones that I did, but also one of my favorites. I just really like all of the like smaller decisions that I made and how the overall like caricature came out. And the orange is fun. Thank you, Punk Panda, for letting me draw your face. Tell your dog I said hi. Next we have Lex, and she has requested to be drawn as a Dalmatian. Big Titty Goth Grill. Love the username. So we have a lot of Dalmatian examples in Bluey. There's Chloe, Chloe's dad, Chloe's mom, the whole Dalmatian family. It's a plethora of reference. I noticed that the Dalmatians are one of the few dogs that are actually drawn with like round heads and square bodies, where their heads and their bodies are kind of like well defined. They're like separate from each other. There are no necks in Bluey. I had a lot of fun with the spots. Because she has like some freckles, I went ahead and I made just spots in the shape of freckles. And because she has a tattoo on her chest, I went ahead and put like one big spot to kind of represent that without being a direct tattoo. So because the Dalmatians are all black and white, I wasn't entirely sure how to implement color in a way that would represent Lex. So one of the things that I kind of decided to do was make this kind of a golden Dalmatian, where there's a lot of like golden undertones to kind of match her hair. Also, Lex has really bright eyes, like light blue eyes. And there is another character who I believe is a husky who has really bright blue eyes. So I decided to take inspiration from that and give this Dalmatian bright eyes. Bluey does a really good job of not kind of falling into like gender stereotypes and relying on like, you know, giving all of the girl characters eyelashes or making them wear dresses or something. So a lot of the time the characters in this are relatively gender neutral, to the point where a lot of people, when they first start watching the show, including me, don't realize that Bingo and Bluey are both girls. They are sisters. But I did want to make this drawing just a tiny bit more feminine, and Judo's mom has eyelashes, so I went ahead and I added eyelashes to this one. Thank you, Lex, for volunteering your face. Also, while we're at the halfway point, I want to mention that I'm going to be listing a limited amount, I think like 3 commission slots for Bluey portraits on my website. So if you just like really want one of these portraits, or if you know someone who's like really into Bluey and you want to like get this as a gift, I will be listing a very limited amount of portrait slots where I can draw you or your dog in this style, and those will be for sale on my website. Very briefly, art commissions. They're temporarily open. I don't do commissions a lot, so this is a big deal. Next, we have Max, an ace lesbian if I am reading your profile picture correctly, and also your necklace. Max would like to be drawn as a King Charles Spaniel. Correct? King Charles Spaniel. Yes. Also, because you said you're a lesbian, I'm gonna use she, her pronouns. If that's incorrect, I'm sorry. Feel free to correct me in the comments. So, one of the most fascinating characters, in my opinion, is a King Charles Spaniel named Bentley. According to the Bluey Wiki, Bentley is listed as both female and male because in the Italian dub, she's voiced by a male voice actor, whereas in the English, she's voiced by a girl. Also, I'm just using she because that's how she's represented in the Bluey Wiki. So depending on what language you're watching this in, this character's gender is different, if my understanding is correct, which is fascinating. And again, just kind of points to the genderlessness of these dogs as characters. So as far as reference images, there is Bentley, there's also Bentley's mom, as well as Bentley's sibling. In terms of a reference for body proportions, I went ahead and I just used Bentley's mom, which, by the way, we've only ever seen the back of when she's like picking up Bentley from school. So we don't really know what Bentley's mom looks like yet. And then as far as like iconography to connect this character to the person that it's supposed to represent, I kept the necklace as well as the glasses because those feel like very good defining features. But as far as like the color for this, I was really excited because Max has really fun hair. And also because people do like use dog safe like vegan hair dye on their dogs sometimes. So I just love the idea of this dog having dyed ears. And then also with like the spot patterns, I kind of tried to keep it close to the reference image because I really like the coloring of this dog's coat. So there you are, Max. I hope that you enjoy your new drawing. Also, I'm sponsored by Advanced still. If you use code echoisweird, you can get 10% off. They make good energy drink mixes, so I don't drink energy drinks anymore. Yeah! Code echoisweird for 10% off. Next we have Jacob. They said they resonate with pit bulls because they are big and lovable. I love pitties. They're so cute. I particularly love this like caramel colored reference image, but in the Bluey universe, there is one pit bull, and he's not even like a secondary character. He is like a background character. He's in like 2 episodes, and he's just known as Pirate Dad, because he doesn't officially have a name yet, as far as we know. He and his son are just a background character that show up in the episode Pirates. They have no names, but it's suspected that they are pity boxers, maybe like a mix. He's also seen in the episode Dance Mode, and the thing that I love about him, this like mild characterization, is that in the store, when I think it's Bandit who's dancing, all of the other parents are looking away and are kind of like, I don't know what to do about this, and he's just enjoying it. He's just like watching like, oh look, a person dancing. What a good characterization for a character that doesn't even have a name. So these are like the only 2 references in Bluey for pit bulls or boxers. So I use that to get like the overall body shape, still like, you know, relatively built. This character is very boxy. So I went ahead and I kind of kept that like overall body shape. Jacob has very like curly hair, so I went ahead and I added just a little bit of curl, even though that doesn't like perfectly match up with boxers slash pit bulls, but it's stylistic anyway, it's fine. And then I also went ahead and I added just like a little bit of facial hair. I added a bunch of spots, and then instead of making the muzzle darker like it is in the Pirate's Dad, I went ahead and I made it lighter, more like the reference image. I really like this one. Thank you, Jacob, for letting me draw your face. And maybe someday we'll actually get to meet the Pitbull character in the show. You never know. Maybe he'll get a speaking line. I like the idea of there being a Pitbull in Bluey. So the very last drawing I'm going to be showing you today is a drawing of Donovan. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. And they suggested a Maltese Shih Tzu mix based on, I think, their dog. So this next part is like mild spoilers for Bluey, so if you aren't interested in that, maybe like skip ahead to this time code. The only reason I mention that is because Lila, I think her name is Lila. So Lila is a Maltese, but she is also Bingo's best friend. But at one point, very briefly, we do get to see a grown-up version of Lila, and the way that it's put in the episode is really impactful, which is the reason that I mention it as a spoiler. So along with adult Lila and Lila's mom, I also used Missy as a reference, because Missy is, to my understanding, the closest breed to a Shih Tzu. She is an Aussie Terrier, but in terms of appearance, she's the closest that I could find kind of as a reference to a Shih Tzu. So something kind of interesting about Missy is that it's currently suspected that she is adopted, because in the Pass the Parcel episode, in the background, you can see that when she runs to her mom, she's running to a dog who is a completely different breed from her. So as of now, she just has an unnamed mom who is also a background character. Oh, I love the Bluey writers. They did such a good job. So along with the reference image that Donovan posted, I also noticed that in their profile picture, they have glasses. So I decided to make a version with and without glasses, so hopefully, depending on which one you prefer, you can just kind of choose between those two. I was also struggling a lot to figure out how to kind of implement the facial hair in a way that works within the formula of the show without just looking like a larger muzzle. It was a little bit complicated, but I think I figured it out. And then I also just kind of turned the ears into like a large swoop, kind of like this person's hair. Also, I tried to push myself again to, even though this is like a gray character, to add a little bit more color. So this gray actually has like vivid blue undertones. And I'm hoping that that makes it look a little bit more in tune with the style of the show. And then of course I colored the line art, because all of the line art in Bluey is colored, which I love. Stylistically, I love colored line art. I think I do want to do one more of these videos, so I'm going to be pulling from the exact same tweet that I did from these ones, so I'm going to try that. So if you would like to be part of that, again, you can post a picture of yourself and the dog breed that you feel most represents you as a reply to my pinned tweet on Twitter. Also, the earrings that I'm making out of Palmer clay have almost completely sold out, so thank you so much for all of that. Again, just go check out my online store if you want to help support me. It helps a lot. I also have a Patreon. If you're looking for an alternative to energy drinks, I'm going to recommend Advanced because they sponsor me, and you can get 10% off using the code echoisweird. Since you made it all the way to the end of this video, I'm going to give you 261 awesome points. I'm going to go babysit some dogs. I hope the rest of your day is wonderful, and I will see you later. Goodbye. Strangers on the internet. Ooh.